So this video, I'm gonna go a little through what you can also read on the About page, a little about me, why Lifemotivator is, who am I, and why should you actually do any of this. And one of the things I always do is I get so passionate. So one of the things I always speak very fast, and I will try to keep myself down in this nice tempo, which Thailand actually has given me after I moved to Thailand. One of the funny things story was when we came to Thailand, all the Thais said, stop, shh, cha-cha, shh, take it easy. And I came from a life with full run. I was coaching in a big telecom agency in Denmark. And I had like, 100 in the consumer department where I was coaching for them to change over to sales. So the tempo was like, it was fast and it was pew, 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 and it's been like that. And the whole life has actually been very, very fast. But then since I came to Thailand, I learned that, one of the things to appreciate and one of the things that is really important is to come down and be present in the tempo. Other stuff is also good when you're energetic and you have a team and you need to perform and, get those ROIs and KPIs in the house and get it all done. But it's also very important to take a breather and come down and learn some stuff of what's around. And coming to Thailand, that dimension I had never really encountered before, since I've been from the music business as background for many years. So let me roll back to that in the very beginning. I was always been the dream of becoming a rock star. That was I bought my guitar very young, sat there with my big classic guitar in school and thought, that's it. That's the magic of life. Girls performing, being out there. And I was in bands and on stage and doing this. And it was okay. I wasn't amazing. I wasn't a rock star, but it was good. But I quickly found out that I had more joy and interest in the studios. My first assignment in school, I think it was in 6th grade or something, I called up the biggest record labels in Denmark and I said, I want to be a record producer and what should I do? And they were very, very sweet. They said, oh, you should just keep going and keep the passion and keep the focus. And then they sent me a bunch of promo CDs. I think I got like 20 promo CDs of all the latest, hottest releases for free sent to my school. And I was amazed and backfired that this music business, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. That's rock and roll. So I want to be in the music business. And at 14, I went to a music magazine that one of the editors was teaching music. He was like a long hair. He was real rock. They released records. He was like a bass player. And he said, Jan, come with me and try to experience this. And you can write some music as a school or something. And within very short time, I was creating a music magazine for young people. And that brought me backstage to Roskilde Festival for many years, where I met music executives and record label A&Rs and a lot of artists. And brought me further into getting a job. The owner of this magazine was then the owner of a management agency, Worldwide Management. And they took me in at 15 and said, you just, come here. I started in gymnasium. In Denmark, it's called gymnasium. I went there for 1 year at mathematic line, did all the school things. And I was like, it's more interesting being on tour with artists and doing all this record and being in the studios. So I actually skipped high school or gymnasium, quit that, said no thank you, went full time at 15 in this company. And at 16, he made me partner and sent me around. So I was sitting there at 16 booking this was in the 90s, so 96, 97. And I was booking some of the biggest names from London, from England that was touring in Scandinavia. And one of the biggest artists was Snap with Rhythm as a Dancer, I Got the Power. And Turbo B thought it was so funny that I was so young and so innocent and so skinny. And I was the one rocking around with tools. So we had a lot of fun at that time, traveling the world. So he always requested when we went to Finland and Sweden and all these places that we were a team like that, which then brought me into more producers, more artists. So already at 16, 17, I was touring with all these bands and still producing music for myself because I wanted to be a rock star still. But it was not so much rock. It was more the dance music now. So it was Sash, it was Broken Bounce, it was these bands at that era that blew up. And one of the main artists from 666, Rene Diablo, became one of my very best friends, even when he went into Broken Bounce as well. We still together that day today. One of the references on my website is Rene, because we stayed together since that time for that many years. And he had me at one point jump from this management agency to his management agency for Broken Bounce in Hamburg. Before that, in 98, I got my own record deal. So I released a few records on Scandinavian records in Denmark and Scandinavia. We had a top 10 hit. But again, it was a rock and roll time. It was very different. It was out of the ordinary. And I was very young, so it brought me to some experiences which today I'm actually still using those outcomes in my coaching and in my motivation framework and in the anything is kind of possible if you set your mind to it strategy. So anyway, I went with Rene with Unbroken Bounce to Hamburg. I moved to Hamburg and we traveled. We performed at Webster Hall in New York. We transferred to pretty much any places in Europe that they were booking. We traveled back and forth. At one time, we drove from Hamburg to Austria, to Vienna. And then we had 2 gigs and 3 gigs and some other content. It was a wild time. Great stories. And some of that will come in the podcast also that I'll do later on the channel as well. One of the other artists I really is happy about and that I met and connected very well with is Emma Lanford from Moose T. You know her from singing Horny Horny in 98. And she was also really on some of the great experience, and I want to do an episode with her because some of the wildest stuff happened when she was around and this whole business strategy thing. Anyway, Napster came, music business took a hit, just to short it down a little. And it wasn't as funny being in the music business anymore as it was earlier. So I started to look into all the marketing of these artists, building their websites. There was just when we started to have, CDRs, CD-ROM where you could burn and the PC and all this. So I started to look into building websites with Flash and how we got the marketing through these media channels and all this. And I moved to Mallorca for a while and started my own label and publishing agency. And at that time, now we skip many years, but I'll do some episodes in the details because they deserve like having their own episodes with some of it. But from that point, there was a Swedish company called Spotify that was starting up and wanted to do this thing with streaming. But right now you were downloading. So there was another competitor in Sweden that was focusing on the downloads and on the hard copy CDs. And they reached out to me on Mallorca and said we could use, you and what you've been doing with your own private label. Come to Sweden and work with us. And I went there, moved to Sweden in Malmö and worked with this company. And they did very well. We signed some big names. Guns N' Roses were there and Robbie Williams were on board and all this. But it was the competition between streaming and hard copy. And the whole music business was changing. And of course, we know Spotify won the prize and is now the worldwide dominator of music distribution and everything. But it was a great time and I met some great people. I also met my current partner, Dina, who I started the marketing agency with, which today is the one residing in Thailand, actually. So we started and said all the knowledge that we have, let's continue using that. We had contact with some artists and we built that into this company called So Hard Me, which we today run from Thailand and has been running for the last 15, 16, 17 years now, which is not only music business anymore. We have entrepreneurs, we have restaurants, we have developments. And so in between that, I've done some other work with other record labels and other entrepreneurs. I've helped some businesses start. There was a clothing brand that we helped kick off. There was a software agency that did some code-specific things where they needed fundraising for money. And so all this knowledge and all these things has been put into what I today want to do as Lifemotivator. So basically, it's just this enormous out-of-the-box life experience, which I put into thinking that we can encounter any issue and there will always be a solution. And I know there's 1,000 of videos on YouTube that you can and watch, and you should watch all of them with Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, all these great entrepreneurs, the Diary of a CEO, Tom Bilyeu. Eat it in and get it and have the knowledge. What you will experience is after you watched 100 hours of YouTube videos is that not everything gets executed. Not everything gets done. Even with the books you read, you can read Atomic Habits. You know exactly what to do, and yet still it doesn't really go through, or you don't manage to get it there. And that's one of the things with Lifemotivator, that I am also a part of keeping you accountable for your own knowledge. So often my clients know a lot more than me in many areas. They are successful, they're doing great things, but they could still need some sparring. They could still need someone to hold them accountable and say, okay, now we go in this direction, or now you have this consequence because you took this choice, or now you lost your Facebook account because you just gave access to your management agency. And it can be many, many different problems that can be put into the same basket. So why I believe that I have the capability of doing this is because I have done it since I was 14, 15 years. I just didn't have a label on it. During the time, I've taken some, like I said, certificates. I've done some coaching educations, top-down, steps, frameworks, sales psychology, but I don't really function that way, or it doesn't function for me. So I've created my own way of being present, being authentic, and then we will get from A to B. But first we have to find out where is B before we can get there. So that's more of my background in it. You get to learn a lot more when I do some podcast episodes in the future. I'll probably talk about it on the webcasts and or the webinars. And all about it is just to present that the goal of us in the end is to be fulfilled, have some sort of happiness once in a while. It's not a constant state. Everybody knows this. But figure out where are your happiness triggers and why is it not a part of your current life? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But if it is, how can you get more? And if it's not, why is it not? So that was a little about me. If you watched this far, then you're probably going to watch some of the other episodes when they come. But thank you for being part of it. And yeah, thanks for listening.